This is Charlie Mike, the podcast. Veterans helping veterans, talking about things happening in the veteran community, things we've experienced and overcome, such as addictions, PTSD, depression, legal trouble, and we also promote veteran-owned businesses. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. This is Charlie Mike, the podcast.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Charlie Mike, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raul. Today, I got a special guest in the house, and it's Buck Stevens. Now, let me tell you, Buck Stevens, I'm not going to tell him. You tell him a little bit about yourself. And what brings you here today?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for providing the opportunity for me to be here and be a part of this. Always looking for ways to engage the community. So this is something, like I said, I haven't ever done one before. So this is going to be new for me. But native Pearland, been here all my life. Born and raised. I say born. I was actually born 2 months prior to moving here. So we lived right on the outskirts of Pearland. And then as my mom was giving birth and those kind of things, we were moving to Pearland. They were already moving here. So I consider myself, living here all my life, and so
so that's all your life, right?
Yeah. So we raised horses and did trail rides and all kinds of things in Pearland for years and years and years, and so just kind of raised here and worked here a lot of different areas of Pearland and did a lot of volunteering and things like that. So it's been my home.
So especially since it's been all your life in Pearland, I can just imagine the growth that you've seen from when you were younger to now.
Absolutely.
What's some of that feel like?
Well, so in the beginning, of course, being young, not really knowing what growth looked like, just saw it, right? But it was kind of cool, I guess, growing up because we could see news. I'll never forget when we had just one Sonic, and then all of a sudden we had two, and one Walmart, then we had two, now we have 3 and 4. And, it was kind of cool seeing that the opportunities for businesses and things like that were kind of cool. I didn't have to go far to go. Pearland's kind of always been the nucleus for me. I've always tried to tell people from a marketing standpoint or even just in conversation that we have the greatest of everything right here because within a few minutes you can have anything in the world, everything from NASA, Clear Lake area to Houston, and all of it has to offer, and Sugar Land, all those kind of things. So we're kind of the nucleus of the hub of the wheel right here, but it's a good location to come back home to.
Right. Yes.
You feel safe. It's a good community vibe.
Definitely. That's one thing I always tell people. No, I don't leave Pearland. And if I do leave Pearland, it's for a sporting event. That's probably like an NRG or Toyota Center. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. That opportunity exists, though, within a short amount of minutes, right?
Right. Exactly. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know you're a Pearland native. What got you into the field? What are some of the organizations that you volunteer with? Just a little bit about Buck.
Okay. Well, went to school here, of course, graduated in 1980. Actually got my GED in 1980. My father had passed away right prior to that, and I was going through some struggles, et cetera, trying to keep going in school, et cetera. And so me and my mom were kind of on our own and doing our own thing. Had a younger brother at that point as well. So I got out of school a little early, graduated with my GED, went to Alvin Community College, got my police certification, and then for some reason, my dad had done law enforcement prior to this, and so I guess I kind of thought that's where I wanted to go. I didn't know anything else but police work at the time because I remember going to the police station, just sitting there with the dispatchers, and they would keep me kind of almost like a babysitter while my dad was working. I mean, back in those days, it was nothing in Pearland. And then, but once I graduated to the police academy, I put in my applications everywhere, and then I ended up going to work in the petrochemical industry.
Wow.
And so my mom worked for a company in Houston, and went up there and learned to be electrical draftsman and did drafting work for about 5 years. And I did odds and ends, various other things here in Pearland. I was a manager at the old Radio Shack that used to be here. I worked at the old Kroger's, actually was my very first gig out of the box there, so to speak. And that was when it was across the street on Broadway. And then there was a hardware store called Handy Dan. I worked there for a little while and actually was in the same building when Kroger's moved across the street. And so did a lot of those little small odd and end things. And then one day I got a friend that called me. He was with the police department and here in Pearland, and he said, "Hey, are you still got your license and all that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, one of our mutual friends was going down to be the chief of police in Hitchcock, Texas, and he's needing some police officers because they've terminated everyone that was in the agency. They had some corruption going on, and so they were starting afresh. So I went down there and applied and got the job and worked there for almost exactly 2 years to the day. Then the sheriff's office called me and said, "Hey, we're hiring patrol deputies, and we know you made the application back several years ago. We're just kind of updating your stuff to see if you're still interested." And I said, "Well, I like where I'm at, but it's cool in Hitchcock, Texas. But make me an offer." So they did, and I came over to Brazoria County.
Yeah.
So I worked for the sheriff's office for a number of years, and then during that time, or towards the end of that time, I bought a business here in Pearland. And it was actually a combination of two businesses, an old trophy shop called Plaques and Plates that was around for years. It was the oldest trophy shop in the whole area, in the South Houston area. We used to do all of the awards for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and all those things for Dad's Club and the Little League and all that. We had, I remember working there, we had thousands of trophies and stuff like that. So did that for a little bit. And we merged those two companies together. The other one was a sign company, Pearland Signs, and then became AB Products. And we owned that for 25 years here in Pearland, and went through all the the hassles of owning a business here in town, and the good part, selling locally and doing those kind of things. And then had some friends of mine, some JPs, Justice of the Peace here in town that had worked with me when I was with the sheriff's office, and said, "Hey, we'd like for you to consider running for constable." And the first thing I said is, "Why in the world would I want to do that? I got a nice business here, everything. I set my own hours, I do my own thing." And they said, "Look, we think you're the right guy for the job. It's going to expand, and we need someone that can take it to the next level, that can manage it and manage the growth and do those kind of things." So I've jumped off into it, and 28 years later, I'm still doing it.
Still doing it.
And so it's grown a lot. It's gone from a part-time, one-person facility to 22 full-time employees, and a lot of growth.
Your office is located kind of near Killins, right?
Yes, we have my main office is on Grand Boulevard, right there downtown, what I call downtown Pearland. Those people don't know it as downtown anymore. Yeah. And then we have a sub office in Alvin, so we have two areas within Precinct 3 of Brazoria County.
So what are some of the things that y'all are involved in with that, as far as being the constable?
Okay, so a lot of people do ask questions about constable. What do we do, et cetera? So we're, in the state of Texas, every peace officer is exactly the same. We get licensed by the same agency. We take the same testing. We take the same academies. So peace officers in general are all the same. However, we generally have different geographical responsibilities and/or responsibilities that are unique to us. Like in the constable's office, we're more civil orientated. We take care of the courtrooms. We bailiff the courtrooms and keep security. We serve civil process that comes out of any court in America. We serve that process to anybody that lives here. And we can still do all the criminal stuff. We can work traffic. We can do all those things. But it's always been my belief that we stay in our lane. We do our good thing. We do really good at what we do. And then the sheriff's office and the local PDs, they can handle, and the DPS, they can do all the criminal stuff and all that kind of things. Not that we're not asked every once in a while to come help them and do that, but that's our forte, and I enjoy doing it. And I look back, I wish I'd started 10 or 15 years even before. I love it. I love what I do, and the main thing is the interaction with people.
What are some of the organizations that you're currently involved in that I see you everywhere? I said the same thing to Jeff because it's true. Yeah. I know you're real involved with the Lions Club, correct?
Yes, I've been in Lions Club since 1985. In 1980, right when I graduated as well, I wanted to become a Pearland fireman. And at that time, they wouldn't allow anybody under the age of 18. So I went and started my fire career or fire background in Brookside Village, and became a volunteer fireman over there. And that was about the time that the big explosion happened here in Pearland. And it scared me to death. I was a little, young fireman, not really knowing what to do and where to go and what to be or anything. But soon after that, I went back. As soon as I turned 18, I joined Pearland Fire Department. I was with their volunteer department for 28 years, retired as their first assistant chief out of the volunteer department. And I was kind of the bad guy, because I'm the one that recommended going from an all-volunteer department to what they called a combination department, and now a full-time career department. And so a lot of the volunteers didn't really think that was cool, but at the time, Pearland was growing, tremendously growing, definitely. And you got to be able to manage that and move with the growth. And so We were just answering way too many calls during the day. On weekends and weeknights, no problem. Had enough volunteers to take care of everything, but that Monday through Friday, 6 to 6 was giving us a struggle. Yeah. And then, of course, through that, I became a member of the chamber. I was always out in the schools doing fire prevention education. People would see me and say, hey, come be a part of this. So I joined the neighborhood center. I joined the 100 Club in Pearland. A lot of those organizations, I became board members. Some of them I'm still board members on. There's 3 right now that I'm, 2 of them I'm president of. I'm treasurer of a couple of them. So I enjoy the interaction and the camaraderie that has to do with 501c3s and nonprofits. In fact, I was going to retire no matter what in 3 years, and that was one of the things that I was going to jump off into, is become a certified nonprofit executive and try to figure out how can I help more nonprofits do the right thing. Yeah. Just as simple as following their 990s and getting that on time, to making budgets and running meetings and conducting meetings, how to even file for their 501c3 and keep that. I'm pretty good at that. I've started 3 or 4 nonprofits now, so that's what I wanted to do.
I think it's definitely hard, especially getting into the nonprofit world, where you want to do something special as a cause, a good cause, but then you just go in not knowing anything.
Absolutely.
And then it just becomes a lot.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I've seen. So you're happy. You've been doing this. You've been doing the Constable Precinct 3 Constable. Why?
Why change?
Yeah.
So in the 1990s, I was asked to run for city council, and I really considered it in the early 90s. And then 95 rolled around. That's when I got approached about the constable's position. And I've been in law enforcement. I love doing that. And, I figured if someone's coming to me and asking me to do something, that's kind of my calling. It's an opportunity.
Right.
And so I went off into the constable's world and did that, as opposed to, all that's going to be around forever, and I can always dive into it at any point. So that's the way I looked at it. And I went into the constable's deal knowing that I could make a difference. And so when Mayor Reed, a longtime good friend and certainly a good community advocate, he called me and said, hey, I'm thinking about stepping down. Would you think about running for mayor? And I said, well, I really like what I'm doing now. I don't know. We'll kind of see, whatever. And just so happened, about the same time, Mayor Cole, Kevin, we had conversed a little bit, and he was interested in running for mayor. And I said, you know what? I like it where I'm at. I'm just going to stay where I'm at. You go for it, and good luck with everything, right? Right. And I told him, I said, no, make sure you don't mess up, because I'm going to come in and run against you, But no, he did it. He's done a great job, a great opportunity. So like I had indicated earlier, I was going to retire at the end of this. We serve a 4-year term as constable. I've been in 28 years now, unopposed 90% of the time, 95% of that time. And I was going to retire this last time. I've had I said, it's time to turn over the reins, let a new breath of fresh air come in, see if there's something that needs to be changed, and keep up with today's society. And so I was going to retire anyway in 4 years, or actually 3 years now. And so all of a sudden, these doors opened. And so when Mayor Cole had announced that he was going to run, I said, I went home and prayed about it, talked to Michelle about it, and we just kind of said, you know what, if we're going to do it, let's do it. And so I said, I'm jumping in all feet. And so it's an opportunity. I'm going to do it. And it's something I've kind of always wanted to do. I'm more so in line with running for council, I thought, at the time, for all this time, because the council members actually make a difference. They get to vote on the things, they discuss and cuss and everything else about it. The mayor is just a figurehead, so to speak, but he's really a commander-in-chief, but he's the face of the Pearland, right?
Right.
And so, that's really what I like doing too. So I really like going out and selling and marketing and being an ambassador for Pearland, and that's what I'm hoping to do.
So with you coming in as the mayor, what are some of the things that you're going to be running on? What are some of your...
Well, so I've had a long time stretch with being in the business for 25 years, being active in the chamber for so many years, and all these nonprofit organizations. I really want to see Pearland. Even though we've always pushed for Pearland to be a place where people want to come visit and do those kind of things, I really think that's a big thing. But I think also people feel comfortable here as a community. I think it's, despite what all we ever try to do, I think we're always going to be that kind of a bedroom community. People love coming here, raising their family here. We have great schools, phenomenal schools. And so I think people move here for a purpose. I think they feel safe. I think they feel like this is community. It has a little bit of everything. And again, within 15, 20 minutes, you can be anywhere and do anything else you want to do, and then come back home. And you know that your house is protected. You know that Your family's protected. Do we have crime? Absolutely. I mean, there's no community in the world that doesn't have crime. And so, but it's much less here than it is in any of our regional counterparts. And so people, I think people know that. And the realty industry does a great job of marketing that. And so I really want to push for more things for when people do come visit our community and spend their money here and then go away. I want to use that money, right? So arts, things that people can come, walkable districts, things that people can come and visit for the day, have a great time, want to be part of Pearland's growth in those kind of areas, and then spend time here and spend money here and then go back to their homes, wherever that may be too. So I'd really like to see some more arts. I'd like to see, I've been shooting for a skate park for probably 40 years now. Yeah. I've been trying to get a skate park in town. I'd love to see a skate park. I just think that's a great opportunity for our youth. I'm one of those believers that if you don't do something to collaborate that they end up in places that they probably should not be.
Right, 100%.
And so parks do that. Parks already centralized centric people, skate parks centric people, and I think there's a good collaboration that could happen there. But doing things like markets, I'm part of the downtown revitalization project. I sat in on many of those meetings. I'd love to see that downtown redone, but I realize it's all about money.
Right.
A lot of it about money. So some private partnerships are going to have to really come into play there.
So with you coming in, so one of the things is I love Pearland and just like the hometown, small town feel it has, but at the same time, it's huge.
Yes.
So how do we keep that small town feel? And what I'm worried about is having more franchises come in and losing our small businesses.
Yeah, so that's what I was a small business. Started with 2 of them and combined them. Like I said, we did trophies for every team here for years and years and years. That's a struggle. It's a balance. Now we can't, I'm all about free enterprise. If people own property, they ought to be able to sell it and do what they need to do on it within reason, right? We have codes and ordinances and those things in place that will control and manage the growth that's happening. So I know it's a struggle for some, but even recently I reflected back and I still think just if you're really involved in the things in the nonprofits and organizations that are in town, that small town feel is still there. When something happens in our community, we rally up. And we all come together and we make it work, we get it done, and then we go back to our busy lives, right? I don't think that happens in a lot of other communities. I mean, we saw it in Central Texas when that happened. We all went there, right? That was a statewide effort trying to get things back in line. I think that happens more so in Pearland too. Protecting the small business owner, it's getting tough everywhere for small businesses, period. I know there were some propositions that one about tax incentives for businesses and small businesses inventory-wise. That I'm all for that. If we can figure out how to incentivize small business to keep them going, I think the downtown revitalization project is going to be made up of a lot of small businesses. The franchise businesses, I think they do a lot of work. People have said for years, well, I don't understand why so-and-so doesn't come here, or why don't they build a restaurant here, or why don't they do that? Those companies spend a lot of money coming and looking. And they say, if the demographics are right, then we'll build here. If it's not, then we'll go to another location. And we still may be in line somewhere, maybe 30 restaurants down the road, but eventually we'll have all those things. But I think most demographical people look at Pearland again. I am pretty certain that a majority of people come home, probably 60, 70% of them come from Houston or Clear Lake or other business opportunities. They come home, they go to their home, they want to go walk around the parks, do some exercising, go to a few craft shows, do some kind of things like that, and then go home, go to bed, and feel safe. So I think that's what I don't know that the community doesn't want a whole lot of growth,
right?
But you got to have some, because we want all this protection. We want the fire and the police and the EMS and the infrastructure and the roads and all those things done. That all takes money, right? And so if there's businesses not here creating sales tax and other generating inventory tax and those kind of things, then guess who's got to pay that?
Yeah.
Right? And so it's a good balance, and it needs to be a good balance and stay that way.
I agree. I that's one thing, when I was young, I've been here since the early 90s, I think, 5th grade, graduated, joined the military, said I was never coming back because I just wanted to, grow. I wanted to get out in the world and experience it. After I did my military service, I said, all I want to do is go back to Pearland. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
So I've come here. I've, I tell people a lot, this place has seen me grow,
Absolutely.
from kid to a man, mistakes, everything.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it here. What's the biggest problem that you see in the city that we don't talk enough about?
Communication. I mean, I one of the things that I would really like to see happen is the ability to, and I'm not sure, I don't know if I know the answers, but it seems like we miss a lot of opportunity to get more in, those few citizens that say, hey, I wish more of this was happening in Pearland, and then I turn around and go, well, that is happening. You're just not connected to it. How do we fix that, right? We have a superb media section, I guess, within the city, if you want to call it that, division, and maybe we need to work on that somehow where we have a community calendar, something that everybody can go up to. I know the chamber works desperately to try to have a community calendar, but a lot of people feel like, I got to be a member of the chamber before I can get on there, kind of that feeling, right? Mm-hmm. Even though I know it's not there. But I want to get something that we can collaborate and connect on so that people have one source that they can go to and say, that's the right source and this is where it's happening. Mm-hmm. Used to in the day, we talked about it almost every weekend now, but we go to things and we say, I remember the day that we only had one, maybe two events a month, and everybody kind of knew when that was. Yeah. It just happened every year, and that's where everybody went. Now we got 3 or 4 or 5 every weekend, and they overlap each other, right? And that's part of the growth. That's part of the greatness, I guess, if you will. You have now a choice of several events you can go to. And then you'll go 2 or 3 weekends without nothing going on.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, did those nonprofits get together and try to work something out, or did that event try to get together and see if there was something else? The visitors and convention bureau is doing a great job of marketing things here in town. But I will tell you that the East End, I look at ends instead of sides. I don't say East Side or West Side. I say ends, East End and West End, because I look at ourselves as a elongated 14-mile piece of property.
Yeah.
And but the people on the East End don't know that there's all kinds of events going on at Town Center at the West End. The West End doesn't seem to collaborate over to the East End. And I think as downtown Pearland revitalizes and those things happening, I'd like to see that cross somehow or another. Let's get across each other, right?
Right.
And I know every community is broken up into cultural divisions as well. So we have last time I heard, I think we have 27 dialects in Dawson High School. That's a lot of different dialects of people that are living here. We're a smudge pot of people, right? And so I want to. How do we capture those people? How do they stay here and engage?
That's a lot. I didn't know it was that many, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What's one of the things that we're currently doing as a city that you just want to continue to build on?
Well, I think that, that's a pretty good question. I think our Parks and Rec department does a great job. Unfortunately, a lot of communities suffer because of the decisions that previous councils made or previous managers made, supervisors. And so I think Pearland got caught up in an issue where there was a lot of growth happening, but a lot of forward thinking wasn't done, where we acquired some parkland, maybe some larger pieces that would make it into a better park, let's say, for example. So we struggle with that now. And if we want to go in and buy that or, attain that land somehow, the price has just gone astronomically crazy, right? And so the taxpayers if they want more of that, then they're going to have to pay to have that done. So unfortunately, the school district, however, did a much greater job of going out and acquiring a lot of land early on and saying, we may have to have based on our growth, we may have to have these parcels for schools, right? The city councils back in those days didn't do as much of that.
Right.
And some would say, that may be a waste, right? We may not ever need that land. Well, if you had that land now and you had to turn it, look how much money, we probably could pay you off a lot of debt, if we had done it early on, just even the private. But I think we do a good job there. I know that we've done a great job with our water sources and our infrastructure on the water. I know we're an older city, especially on the East End. Infrastructure is going to have to be redone over time. That costs money as well. We can't do it at yesterday's dollar, and so that's going to be a struggle. But I think our supervisors and people that are in our public works department are doing a great job of keeping up. So I'd like to see that, continue. Our fire department and police department they are so much, just being from the law enforcement side and from the fire side all these years. we are so far advanced than other communities are. And I know the citizens don't feel that maybe, or some don't feel that or sense that. But while it is so, in working with so many other agencies, I'm just so proud of our Pearland Police Department and Fire Department. They're so much more advanced, so much more aggressive in their training, their thinking, their abilities. And that keeps our crime and our responses low. We can't do away with traffic. We can't do away with growth. All we can do is manage it, right? And so I think they do a great job of what they do. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. Nobody's going to be perfect. I mean, I want to move to the perfect bubble city somewhere, wherever that's at. That's where we all want to go, right? But we're going to make some mistakes, and but I think if we come out on the good side of everything, I think we're in good shape.
When let's say like in the 80s or 90s, did you ever picture Pearland's growth to be this type?
Absolutely not. Again, I go back to we had a Cullen Boulevard and 518 that actually made a curve right there, and that was called Dead Man's Curve. And people would come out of Houston and flying down Cullen Boulevard. And back then I was with the fire department, and unfortunately they didn't make the curve. And so that got its tagline there. But when I was growing up, as I was in high school, actually even prior to high school, some pretty predominant families in the area owned a lot of land, and we did a lot of plowing. I worked on tractors for probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 years during my what we used to call intermediate and high school areas, and I would go out and plow fields after school, and we knew soy and rice and those kind of things, baled hay. I used to be able to throw a bale of hay. I bet I can't even pick one up now, but it was there was cattle everywhere. Everything was just like home. It was a ranch style. Everybody knew everybody. I mean, that was back in the days when mom and dad said, "Okay, be home before the street lights come on." But the other thing, you'd get in trouble in school, and you'd think mom and dad didn't know about it. And when you got home, they knew. Yeah. So everybody talked. But so that growth has happened, and again, I never thought we'd see 4 different types of Walmarts and 3 Sonics and all these other things that have come along. But I love it. I mean, I like it because it gives me variety. It gives me the opportunity to not leave home, still have variety, and still be home.
I think I wish more people understood that. I have like family members and things like that. Was how come you don't ever leave? I said, why? Everything's right here.
Absolutely.
Why would I go anywhere? What kind of food are you craving? It's in this city.
Absolutely.
What do you want to do? It's here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's okay, so with Pearland growing bigger and getting bigger, and what can we do better in Pearland for the young kids and the teens?
Yeah, so that's always been a missing niche, right? And I sat on the Parks Board for 6 years. I'm actually 7. But, we struggled with that. The leagues have always been very active and very good, like the Little League, the baseball, the football, all those have been very active. But we had a new growth of people, kiddos come in that were wanting skateboarding and other things that we weren't accustomed to, right? Now, trying to fulfill those things, fill those little niches in our parks or in our system, that's a struggle because what I saw from the inside looking out was parents that were raising those children and wanting those things. And then we had parents that have lived here for many years saying, "Oh, we don't need that. We got baseball, we got football." So you had this struggle. I'm not giving up that territory because you're gonna put concrete and make it into a skate park, but we can use it as a baseball field. So that's always been kind of the deal. But what I found as a police officer that, again, like I said earlier, if you don't engage these kiddos and keep them, I'd much rather have a group of kiddos and young adults in one area, have a police officer interacting with them, doing things with them, playing basketball, whatever that looks like, than they're not. Right. They could be out. And I'm certainly not saying every child is a bad child, but if some people go adrift, they have opportunity, and so I don't want to see that. I think it's safer to have a collective unit, in places, in pockets, those kind of things too as well. So we have always struggled with that. So I've always thought we could have one of those like a main event, the bigger one. And I know some private owners have tried to get that going. I think it's interesting that I see posts on Facebook from time to time where people say, "Well, the city needs to do a better job of bringing this company in, or this type of atmosphere in, or a main event in." Well, we don't. The city doesn't have control over that. Yeah. All we can do is say, "Hey, here's a private property owner. can you go and see if you can find somebody that's like that to buy your property?
Right.
Or, so I think a lot of people think the city controls what does or doesn't come in. The only thing we do is once you decide that you're going to build, you have to build to these conditions.
Right.
And you have to meet these objectives. And you have to be in the zone correctly, or else you ask for a zoning change. So that, I think the lay people and the citizens that live here don't understand that there's some puzzle pieces there, but the city doesn't have really. Now we have an economic development corporation that goes out and really looks at industry and good growth and I know for a fact they have over the years looked for clean growth. Some of the medical field up in the Beltway area, that's all good, clean, good inventory, good taxation, good partners to have in our community.
Right.
We don't want to have a lot of industrial stuff that puts off hazardous materials or those kind of things. We don't want to see that. Now we have good, clean industrial companies here, and I live right next to one. In fact, right now, and those are good partners to have as well. But they have regulations they got to follow,
right?
Both federal, state, and local that they got to follow to make their site environmentally friendly and clean. So I think we've done It's hard to go out and the EDC and other people go out to these conventions and they try to say come to Pearland, but we can't force them.
Right?
We can't force them. And so the same thing happens on the kids' side, right? I really still truly think we need some type of convention center. It doesn't have to be huge, but I think we need a place that can hold, tens of thousands of people, or at least 10,000 people, because there's so many of our nonprofits and our things that are having to go outside of our community to host an event. That's money that we're missing out on.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, we need to capture that. And every time we do a study and we look at those things, it ends up being a sports-related thing. Well, we've got enough sports stuff, I think.
We definitely
we
do.
need something for the arts, something for the craft show, something for the chamber to have their banquet at, something, everybody's going to, over to the Lone Star Museum, or they're going down to South Shore Harbor. And the only reason why is because we don't have a facility large enough to host that. So
that's amazing. I love hearing all this input that, some of the things I didn't know. One thing I have, so you say the Pearland, so any business can come to Pearland?
Absolutely.
The council and nobody has anything to say what type of businesses come in and come out?
No, the previous councils and currently councils, a long time ago, we have these comprehensive plans, and we do zoning. We have zoning in Pearland. So they've tried to do the best they could to say, okay, on this major street, we want this type of environment along both sides of that. Mm-hmm. Then we have these residential streets. We don't want that. We want residential areas.
Yeah.
So our city is zoned out as best they could do. Now when new roads come in, like McCard Road, when it came in, that changed the zoning along McCard Road. It was all residential. Now it got changed because it's a major corridor now. Mm-hmm. And so the property owners that probably had or were thinking that, I'll just sell all my property to somebody wants to build a house one day. Well, now they can sell it to build a stop and go or whatever. And so we can't restrict. The only thing we can do is say, if you're going to build a Utotem or a stop and go or strip center or whatever in this area, as long as it meets the conditions, they don't even have to come to city council. They can pull their permit and start building.
Yeah.
Now, if there's some change that they need to do, if they're trying to put something that's not compliant with that zone, then they got to go before planning and zoning and possibly even city council to say, hey, I want to change this one thing to make this work. And at that point, we can say, no, you're not going to change it. It's got to stay this way, because we speak for the people that are around you.
Yeah.
We're there to protect them first. We didn't ask you to come. You decided to come. And so because of that, you got to meet this criteria. And so I've seen that over the years. And that's a hard decision. That's a really hard decision. Some would say, I remember there was an issue with Independence Park. There's a parcel across from Independence Park that wanted to put in a gas station and a small strip center. And everybody came out and voted against it. They filled the council chambers. That's your opportunity to go say, no, I don't want that in my area. Is there good in it and bad in it? Bad is possibly it could bring a little bit more traffic flow. The good is I don't know how many times I've gone across the street to my local convenience store when I run out of a loaf of bread or I need a milk on Sunday morning or something. It's kind of convenient to have it there, right? And so there's good and bad in it. And it also, depending on the way it's structured and the way it's built, it could add property value. It can increase your property values. course, when you increase your property value, that increase the tax bill at the end of the day. So all those things happen. But if you ever decide to sell, it may increase your property value right there. So.
Yeah, I had there was a thing about McCard Road, and there was an apartment complex that was, had to go to city council, and I sat in on a few of those just because I was curious.
Yeah.
And I love the way that was handled.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
On what.
And it's funny because if they own, again, they were required to go and give a public opinion, a public input because of something they wanted to change. Now, if they just moved, just slightly left of that scale, they wouldn't have even had to done that. They would have gone in and just built, and everybody would have been they probably wouldn't have been happy, but there's nothing you can do to stop that.
Right. Okay.
And so there's a challenge in that, and that's happened on several pieces across town.
What's something that you believe in for Pearland, even if it's not going to be a popular decision, a choice, maybe. Is there anything like that?
Well, I think our transportation is one of our struggles right now. I tend to believe, and I don't have any, just based on my involvement in the community and the nonprofits and things that I interact with, I tend to believe our community is getting older in age, and so demographically getting older. And I think at some point we're going to have to think about, how do we get those people around? Do we offer a service? Do we do something local with a service? Do we co-op with some other company to do the service, a Metro or somebody else? But I think part of getting people off the streets or getting traffic reduction is offering one vehicle as opposed to 30 vehicles that are taking up space, right? I don't know if I have the answer to that,
right.
And I don't know if it's good or bad. I've seen a little bit of trials that they've attempted to do. It didn't work out as well as they thought. But I also think that the other thing we're going to struggle with is, as we know there's an infrastructure plan in place for our transportation roads. And so when 518, for example, starts to grow, and it's going to grow, it's a TxDOT road, and it needs to grow. It needs to grow wider. I wish they'd done it a long time ago as opposed to now, but that's the way it is. When that starts, it's amazing to me that as we start to expand to make things better, people complain because of what's going on to make things better. And so you're not going to make everybody happy anyway. I think we all have a uniqueness about us to be able to absorb that. Some know that with growth comes some change. It comes some struggles. But, man, at the end of the day, when it's all done, I think it's a lot better. McCard Road's a good example. I'd hardly ever go on 518 anymore. Yeah, I hit McCard Road, same. And it's great.
Yeah, it is.
Did I ever think I'd use it? I didn't think so at all. But, yeah, I do now. And Magnolia, I mean, I think the forward thinking of councils before that thought about those plans and put them in place and put them on print. Everybody got to see them. Everybody got an opportunity to put input into those, and they then approved them. And now we're just not getting to the point of putting them in. I think that's where we lose the communication. People think that all of a sudden somebody came up on council, dreamed this thing up, and said we're going to put this road there. A lot of that was designed years ago. Years ago, we don't communicate that very well.
What me as the town grows, one of the things that I've seen is a lot more, I guess, homeless people. How is something like that handled, or how is that? I don't know if you have the answer, or
Unfortunately, I don't have the answer. You're absolutely right. I do see more and more. I think we have. I think last time I heard we have like 12 confirmed people we interact with on a daily basis or weekly basis. Anyway, there's probably many more. So I think the key is to get ahead of it. I know one of our cities, the south of us, struggled with that. They didn't get ahead of it, and then they all of a sudden started causing a lot of problems. A lot of what I see is not allowed to begin with. And I'm not talking about just homeless, but peddlers, things like that. When you start allowing things like that to happen, it tends to allow other things to grow. And so it's kind of like, oh, well, they got a rig with it, so I'm going to come do it too.
Right.
And I noticed just today, in fact, I think it was in today's paper where Harris County turned down the peddlers thing countywide, which I thought, I didn't get to hear the conversation, so I don't know what all happened there. But, it's illegal to peddle anything from a state right-of-way anyway. You're not even supposed to be on state right-of-way physically, standing or moving or doing anything on a state right-of-way. To me, that's more of an enforcement thing. It's already a state law. You can't be there. Just get the local law enforcement to go by and say, hey, you can't be here, move on. In the city of Pearland, we have a permitting process. You have to have a permit in order to solicit. That's for the solicitation side. On the homeless side, I don't. One of the things I think we could do. I know there's a couple of camps around town, but they tend to be on property that is overgrown. And have we? I don't know the answer to this, but have we reached out to that property owner and say, hey, can you undercut this? Can you brush this out? Clean it up. First of all, it makes the property look more valuable, better, but it also doesn't provide any opportunity, right? I think if we, and then the other side of the whole coin is those that do need help. How do you help them? Where do you get that help? I know we have a friendly visitor at the neighborhood center that comes in all the time, and I know our goal at the neighborhood center is to try to get people back on their feet, not to continue to feed that machine, right? And we try to help them say, hey, what about getting a job? Whatever that looks like in their life. A lot of it's mental health and the challenges that come along with that. And I think, unfortunately, America as a whole is beginning to see that. Yeah. And so that's a challenge as well.
What does success look like for you in 4 years?
Probably just still doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I love life. I love people. I love engaging people. I like being around my community. I think I'm one of the unique ones that has had the opportunity, and God has blessed me to be able to be involved in many, many organizations over time. Many have come and gone, et cetera, but it's allowed me to open my eyes to a different point of view from every aspect of our community. I hope I'm still able to do that. I hope I'm healthy, being able to engage. I want to be a collaborator. I want to be those. I enjoy when someone calls me and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting an organization. How do I go about doing that?" That makes me feel like I've done my job. I tell my kids all the time that and I have this little blurb that they did when I did a Men Who Cook way back in the days, and they made a statement and said, "Dad, you're too involved," and I said, but yes, I'm involved, but you are with me too, right? And so I'm building this. I'm building now what I want to leave you into the future. Now, one stayed, one's moved off, but I want our community to be something that people will. We don't. I think there's this misnomer that people just move here and then they pass away here, and then the city just becomes dormant. Well, that's not what happens, right? The reality is people continue to move here. What is that purpose? What is that reason? Well, I'm hoping to leave a legacy that people will continue to want to move here, enjoy life here, and grow and bring their kids here and do those kind of things, bring family here. And I hope I'm still able to do all that at the end of the day.
That's amazing. What do you want people to remember or to get from this podcast? What do you want people to remember or to get from this podcast?
Well, I need people to remember I'm just a plain old buck. I'm not nothing fancy. I have a mortgage. I pay taxes. I get involved in my community. I'm not, I think each individual on council or commissioner's court or whatever or even an organizational board, we all bring God provided us a uniqueness. Each of us, we have a unique talent, and I think each of us have to harness that talent and bring it into the room and say, how can we be best served, right? Some are really, really good at finances and things like that. Some are really good at collaboration. Some are good at budgets and doing all those kind of things. I want everything to be. I want people to know that, first of all, I'm open, that they can come to me and ask me. I may not know the answers. I'm pretty resourceful. I have a lot of resources, but I also I will admit I don't know all the answers.
Right.
And even though I can study the budget, I can study. I watch City Council online probably. I would say 80% of the year I'm watching City Council online. Sometimes I'm actually physically there. And I've been doing that for 25, 30 years. Some of the stuff I hear them vote on, I'll go, I probably wouldn't, but I'm not privy to everything. I'm not privy to the background. Yeah. And I'm very quick to say, I don't want to judge a council member of their vote because maybe they're privy to something I'm not, right? And so I want to make sure that I'm not going to be perfect. And I want to be able to have grace to be able to go through and make some challenges. I don't get a vote, but I probably do get a say. And if a group of individuals or citizens want something one way, that I at least want to be able to portray that in the right way.
That's it, Buck. I really appreciate you coming in, and On this podcast, I spotlight, veterans and first responders, and I started to branch off to leaders in the community. You fall under the first responder, but you also fall under the leaders. And you've been a leader in this community for a long time. I appreciate it. I continue doing what you're doing, and I look forward to seeing what happens next for you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and God willing, everything will work out the way I hope that it does. And if it doesn't, then I'm okay with that as well. I'm not going anywhere. Still going to be engaged. Still going to be doing things. It's not going to slow me down.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And you guys, thank you for tuning in. As always, if you're in a crisis, be sure to dial 988. Check on your friends and family this holiday season. Mental health is real. That's what I wanted to say. So again, Buck, thank you for being here. And as always, guys, Charlie Mike.